Hey, MK.
Yes.
It's not the last week of the month.
I know. We're about 2 weeks into the month. For once. We're not rushing through this.
I can't wait to not keep up with this.
I can't wait for us to record this today, and then 2 weeks from now, you're like, oh god, I forgot to edit it, and we're like scrounging again.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the next episode of the TFI podcast. We are on episode
8.
Episode 8. Oh my goodness. And it is the Christmas season. MK, do you have any plans?
I have plans after Christmas.
After
but
Christmas?
Yes.
I'm taking it easy this Christmas. Because it's funny. So, for those who...
That's slang for Sam has no money.
Thanks, MK.
Anyway.
So, you guys may have noticed in our October podcast when we brought in Carlos, we were talking about potentially doing a Christmas special. And I did say to Carlos, I'm like, listen, it's still October. I want to get through Halloween first before we discuss anything Christmas. And what was funny is what had happened is almost right at the stroke of midnight on November 1st, he messages me, all right, let's plan this. And the thing is...
I remember that.
We didn't come up with any ideas. We discussed some things and there were some potential ideas, but the real issue is, so I've always got standards with Christmas specials, and it's like they all have to have snow, because it's, to me, you can't have Christmas movies and stuff without snow. We're in, I think,
says the Canadian.
Yeah, yes. But the thing is, ironically, we're in, I think, what's called El Nino or something, where there's kind of a heat wave coming through. So we've had snow maybe once this month. It's just been rainy most of December. And this is if we were to do a Christmas special, last week and this week would have been the normal weeks to make it, and the weather is just not here for it. My work schedule is through the roof, and Carlos and I just didn't really have many ideas to really work in the limited time we have.
Next year.
Most likely, yes. Because if we have an El Nino winter this year, it should mean a better winter for next year. But yeah, so I've been taking it easy this December outside of work and stuff. I haven't even done much filming for our Rise of the Beast prequel. I've been taking kind of a break that I didn't plan for, but it just happened anyway. With the free time, though, it has allowed me to kind of get back again into Transformers comic books. Funny enough, I still have not read all of IDW's last run of Shattered Glass. I've yet to read the new Beast Wars, which I want to, but I have been reading Skybound. Now, I know we said we were going to talk about issue 2 this podcast, but MK, why can't we?
Blame Sam.
Me?
There's a long technical reason why Sam is causing me not to read issue 2.
It's
So, we are not talking about issue 2 yet because I have not read it yet. And I also haven't read issue 3, although issue 3 is out. And I highly recommend, from the people who have read it, have said good things, I highly recommend you go check them out and read them. I own them. I have the ability to read them.
Issue 3 is the best one. I've
heard that.
Some really raw things happen.
I've heard that. I cannot... So, Sam and I hinted on the last podcast and on twitter.com that we have been working on another collab, but something different, something that we haven't done before.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so because it has to do with the Skybound comic, I have set a rule for myself that until we get this project knocked out, I cannot read any more issues. So I have only read issue 1. And that project would be... Sam, do you want to drum roll it? That was a terrible drum roll.
Oh,
so,
thanks,
Sam and I decide to work together on something because we love this new Skybound run.
I love it more because I've read more.
I love the first issue in Void Rivals because that's what I've read. We have decided to work on something that we've always been interested in but never decided to do. But now we're finally taking a step in trying fan dubbing, and we are putting together a full production fan dub of the Skybound comic run. So we'll be, fully voice acting these comic panels.
I think a good example, because I think my first experience with like voice acted comic panels is for one of the Ultimate Spider-Man comic books, where like MJ's giving Peter this huge rant about how she had to clean up his blood off her clothes, and like, she's like, "You're gonna die in that suit." There was a whole like comic dub of those pages, and it was so well done. And that's what kind of got me interested in doing stuff like this. So when you, MK, you approached me, my first thought was, yes.
So I'm going to be talking about this project as if it's been officially announced, because the plan for this, I'm going to say this in the podcast, and on the off chance that our plans fall apart and this podcast episode comes out before anything's officially announced, like on channels, the plan is we're recording this podcast, but we are working on an official announcement that will be uploaded before this episode is out. So by the time you're listening to this episode, by the time you're hearing this now, the official announcement should already be out. So I'm going to be talking about this as if like it's already been announced and everyone knows. It's like, hey, we're doing not so much of a, hey, this is a secret project, more like, hey, remember that thing you saw an announcement for? This is what we're going to go into depth on. But for a lot of people in TFI, and just me and Spooky D-Man, he's the voice of Optimus in the Shattered Glass films, Scourge, and Hearts of Steel. We both have a strong passion for voice acting that we've especially started pushing this last year, and we thought the fan dub would be really good practice. And so at first it started off as like a bit where me and him, we just got in a call. He was reading the issue 1 for the first time, and he was reading it. He was streaming him reading it, and I was like, hey, let's practice some voice acting. Let's do this. And then at the end of it, I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun. I would love to do this like fully and then get like an actual cast. But then I was like, this is a lot of work. I've never done this before, and I would want this to be a full production with like sound effects, music, and like a high quality fan dub. And so I remember that like a few days later, I approached you, Sam, and I was like, hey, are you interested in this? Like, would you, because I know you want to practice with like different editing techniques and things like that. I'm like, would you be interested in helping out with this? And you immediately like, yes, right now, I'm in it. We're doing it.
I've just really been enjoying this comic book, and it's the first time I've like kept up with a Transformers comic book as it's being released, because I never got to do that in the past. I always missed it by a lot. So yeah, this is a good opportunity just to try something new, because honestly, in the past, like with the rollout prequel audiobook, that was something new to try out, and that was a fun medium to do. And I do want to write a sequel to that actually, but sort of a fully voice acted, comic book, I felt like was a good next step. And that was something I have discussed with a few artists in TFI, that whether we wanted to do comic books of these rollout characters and do it in the same way. So yeah, I definitely want to jump at the shot to do this. Not just as sort of a way to expand our style of like, film and mediums, but I love this new comic book to death. It's so good.
It's genuinely like, I liked the previous IDW run, but there's just something about this new issue, like this new run. Again, I'm going mainly off issue 1, but I think one of the things that's been getting me is part of the reason why I wanted to do the fan dub is the character of Starscream is a character I hold very dear, and I love when Starscream's a little deranged, I guess is the best way to put it. Like I like when Starscream's a lot more intense. He's more like, I'm the leader. Pay attention to me. I love joking, goofy Starscream too, but I love when Starscream just gets to be a deranged evil villain, and that's what really grabbed me with this Skybound run. Is the character of Starscream.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just you wait.
Spoilers.
It's so good.
Spoilers.
But there's just moments where he just reminds like Carlos and I of how we wrote Starscream in Hearts of Steel.
recording. So I am voicing Starscream in the fan dub because again that was my project, my rules. And so
I'm voicing Starscream. It's my project. It's my rules. I will ban you from the Discord server.
So
You sounded like a Discord mom.
The main reason I wanted to do the fan dub is just because I wanted acting practice, and I really liked this take on Starscream, and I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be so much fun to do, to actually voice act these panels. And honestly, there's so far we've gotten a decent cast. Almost every character in issue 1 have been casted. We have, Spooky D-Man is going to be playing Optimus in the series, because when I even reading the first issue on its own, I read the Optimus lines in his voice. Especially, so I have read a part of issue 2. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about issue 2. I've read the first 2 pages. The scene that really was to me felt like, okay, I really want Spooky D-Man to voice Optimus is that scene with the deer.
Oh, I loved that scene.
I don't know. Ever since then, I've just Skybound's Optimus in my head is Spooky D-Man. So it was me you're doing that. I don't care. You're Optimus. And he was like, yeah, I want to do that.
Very quick, just to touch on that panel, since you have seen that part. When I first saw that, I was a little thrown off to see Optimus step on a deer. I was kind of thrown off, oh my god, why are you making him do this? That's kind of scary for him. And then him just kind of nurturing it and then realizing, oh my god, this planet is so fragile. I was like, oh, okay, I love that.
Again, the Skybound comic, from the parts I have read, have just been amazing. To continue with the cast, at least for the robots, the other main character in issue 1, because Skywarp and Ratchet and Soundwave are in issue 1 as well, and they've been casted. We got Big Green, Gavin as Skywarp. We have Shock Blaster, who's voicing the Seeker in The Hunter, the Rise of the Beast prequel film. He's voicing Ratchet. And then Spooky D-Man is also going to be voicing Soundwave in it. But when it comes to main robots in issue 1, it's Optimus, Starscream, and then Jetfire. And Jetfire, we got Matthew Callahan, Cyborg Raptor, as Jetfire. And, I mean, if you've seen him in our TFI films, he's voiced plenty of characters. I know a lot of people's favorites is his take on Grimlock in Jurassic Spark. But he is such a great actor, and I don't know, it was reading Jetfire, especially the final moments of the first issue, there was so much I felt that he could really bring to that character, and I'm excited for him to turn in his lines.
When you approached me with the cast, my first thought was, I was like, yeah, no, this is pretty solid. And not just that, but you've also got actors playing roles that, they're either familiar with or characters that they really love, like Gavin and Skywarp. That says it all. And then, this is one of my first main Transformers roles, not as a Transformer.
Yes, because you're voicing Spike.
I am voicing Spike.
I'm very interested in that.
I'm interested in it too, because it's not a role that I've done before, and I'm interested to see how well comic book lines flow in a recording session, because also I don't get to ad-lib. I have to stick to the actual written dialogue.
There's no improv with it because of the fact that it's a dub. We're dubbing over a comic with pre-written dialogue. However, I feel like there's a little improv with some added things, you could add some laughter, things like that. But yeah, changing the lines is kind of not really a thing we can do.
No, there is room and freedom to kind of, change the dialect, how it's said, and the pacing of it. But line for line, you can't skip one. Even the oofs or the
yeah.
when they're written out. Like, we gotta do those.
One of my favorites is there's one where like Starscream gets punched and it's just heck. Like it's HUK or something. It was like heck. I was
Okay,
like,
if that's the case, when they transform, we have to make mouth sounds.
oh my
And we
God,
have
no.
to read out what they say on screen.
No, we're not doing that. We're not going pew pew every time something shoots.
or sorry, chunk 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 chunk. Hey, it's true. It's how it's gotta be. It's how it's at. It's how it's written, MK. That's how we're going to do it.
Speaking of human actors, there's another person we casted who I remember I was messaging you. I'm like, this was one of the hardest characters to cast because I had to cast someone that sounded old enough to be your father. Because with you playing Spike, I needed someone who sounded older than you and had like a gruffness to their voice. And that was Sparkplug. Sparkplug was probably the hardest character to cast. But I remember I was like stressing out a bit. I was like, I have no idea where to go for this character. But then you actually suggested an actor.
And that, I had a few actors in mind, but I think my first pick for sure was Krithmith Wolf with the interesting spelling, but also known as Alan Farrell, I believe. He's voiced in TFI a bunch of times, but that man is so good at voice acting, and I thought you gotta approach Krithmith Wolf because he's able to like get that like gruff, deep voice without sounding like he's trying to do it.
Mm-hmm. No, and so I reached out to him, super friendly. I got the lines and I was already excited to see what he would do with Sparkplug, and hearing his voice, like hearing his lines, he did an excellent job. And at first I was like, okay, the human stuff is whatever. I care more about the robots. And then I got his Sparkplug lines, and I'm like, well, now I'm more excited to edit the human lines. Like I'm like, you add so much to this character.
It's an interesting thing with this comic book, and I also feel like and I feel like the voice acted dub that we're going to do is going to help even more with this, is that I actually genuinely like the human characters in this comic book. Not to say I've never liked human characters in like comics and movies and shows in the past, but I like these takes on these characters, especially Carly, because like my only experience with Carly was the little teeny bits I saw in G1 and Dark of the Moon. That's kind of it. So I kind of like I like her character in this, and I kind of want to know more about the human, characters and their history, and like what that like beginning part of the first comic book was really about. It just reminded me, MK, when you first reached out to me and you're like, "Oh, do you want a voice in this?" I said, "Oh, dibs on Bumblebee."
Haha, you did say that.
And then I said, "Oh, okay."
It's gonna be real fun when Bumblebee somehow comes back in this universe, and then we actually have to cast someone.
You know what? If he does, and I don't get it, I'm gonna be sad because I've kind of cemented myself as Bumblebee these days.
Well, here's the problem. You're already Spike. How would you differentiate Spike and Bumblebee?
Bumblebee's got a robotic effect. Shut up.
Uh-huh.
Oh God, but speaking of Bumblebee, I swear I've voiced Bumblebee more than I have First Aid, and I'm trying to be out here like First Aid's my cat. Like I gatekeep that character now.
Wait. I voiced First Aid before you did.
Yeah, but not in my work.
Yeah, I know, not in your work, but in general, I did First Aid's voice before you did. Just saying.
We voiced the same character?
I have a First Aid. I voiced First Aid back in 2015.
It's meant to be, MK. It's meant to be.
2016. Either way. I voiced it in TFA 1024's United Warriors series.
Oh, okay. Well, it might have been at the same time then, because while Rollout 1 came out in 2017, I filmed and recorded everything in 2016.
So, yeah, it would have been around the same time.
It's meant to be, MK. Oh, God. So, okay. Going back to the comic book, what is your predicted, given the actors, me, can keep up with it, what's your predicted, timeline and goal for this?
I want to, obviously, since we're a little behind and we haven't started this process, we're still learning things. We're a little behind on the issues. But my goal is to, by like, before the 10th issue, be caught up to where we're releasing an episode the following month. So the way the way I see it is because I for sure want people to read the comic first. This will never be a replacement for the comic. I don't want it to be a case of where the fan dub comes out at the same time as the comic, because one, that would be I would have to get every line recorded and everything within like 24 hours. But also, I don't want to take away from people reading the comic. Like, I still want the comic to be everyone's first introduction into the issue. Like, I want people to have time to read it, to talk about it and stuff. I always want the fan dub to at least be a month delayed. Maybe even longer if we get to the point where we're realizing, okay, it's still a little too soon. Because, again, I don't... The last thing I want to do is take away from the comic, because we're doing this out of love for the comic. And I think it is important that people support the official release and actually read the comic the way it's intended first, basically. I will always recommend doing it the way it's supposed to, reading the official release when it's released, and then seeing the fan dub later after you've already done that.
I do agree with that. Because like it's you want to see the comic book, as you said, the way it's meant to be. So I do feel like maybe the more you can realistically push it without waiting too long would be the better, because there will be, you know, that group of like viewers that watch it that will wait for us to, like, you know, finish and then for you to release it, rather than waiting for the comic book. But at the same time, you know, down the line, when this comic book series is, say, done and the next one's come out and suddenly the issues skyrocket in price, you know, this would be a good way in the future for people to be able to, you know, read these comic books.
The last thing I want to do is, you know, again, take away from Hasbro, like the actual Skybound run. One, I don't need Hasbro lawyers breathing down my neck. But two, I genuinely like Daniel Warren Johnson's writing, and I like Skybound and Image. And so I want them to get as much support as they can. Like, I want the Skybound comic to be successful. Yeah, I don't see issue 1 coming out until January. Like the issue 1 dub. I don't see it releasing till January.
and then we pull a Game of Thrones, and then we start releasing our episodes, and they catch up with the comic books too much that we have to write it ourselves.
Then we write our own comic book,
and then it goes downhill.
No, because if we want to do actual Game of Thrones, we're gonna get towards the end, and then someone's gonna message us, "Hey, you want to work on a Star Wars project?" And we're gonna be like, "Boy, do I!" And then we're gonna completely run the comic into the ground, and then immediately after that get fired from our Star Wars project. Sam, your Star Wars movie would be the most boring Star Wars movie in history.
Yeah, you know why?
Because there'd be no sound effects.
There'd be no sound effects in space. And I know nothing about Star Wars, so it'll end up like the Halo show. It's completely different.
So, shifting away from the comic, because even though it's a collab, it's not necessarily fully a TFI project, I want to shift towards a question that was brought up in the last one from B1 Films 724, which is, what are our plans for TFI in the next 2 years?
Plans for TFI in the next 2 years. Well,
put Sam in our retirement home.
Listen, yes, in 2 years I will be in my early 30s, because I turned 30 in April, in 2024. But that's not the point. Anyway, so thinking ahead, 2 years, so next year 2024, and then 2025 comes up, because that's how math works. I can do math. I've been practicing my numbers. And next year is an interesting year for TFI, because there's one massive project coming out, as you guys know, Gigawatt Rise of the Fallen. And there are a bunch of other smaller projects that MK and I have talked about that we will hopefully be getting the kickstarted on. And there's some other crossover films I want to do. Like I want to do the Jaws crossover. We got to talk about the next Jurassic Spark.
It's so wild thinking about, like, I feel like when I first joined TFI back in 2018, it was like, oh, we have some ideas for a film. Like, oh, we're making an Interstellar remake, and we have Mexico City, and, like, a Bumblebee movie, like, all this stuff. Now we have so many ideas that it's like, it's not, we need a schedule. We need a release schedule. We need an MCU-type roadmap that we need to stick to.
You know, I've thought about that, but my issue with roadmaps is it would do one positive thing and one negative thing for me. And the positive thing would allow me to stop confirming projects and starting them so fast. It would allow me to really stay on track with whatever project we're focusing on. The negative to it is that I feel restricted in the time length that I would have to work on these projects.
Which is why we make a roadmap a private one that only you see, and then so there's no pressure on it. It's more just a, hey, let's follow this, but if you can't, whatever.
This is true, because I have released roadmaps in the past and just never stuck to them because I just...
You need to just stop releasing things to the public.
I just need to stop.
I just need to like log... I need to put a child lock on your phone so you can't log into Twitter or Discord unless I allow you to.
Wow. So what I do want to say, the three projects that I know for 100% fact, because I am adamant that these come out next year in 2024, those three projects are, of course, Gigawatt Rise of the Fallen, our Rise of the Beast film, The Hunter. We were planning for December, but I ended up taking an unscheduled break, and I've been enjoying the Christmas time, just, not working on anything. So that'll probably be a January to a February release, possibly. But also next year, I would love to start working on my Jaws crossover, because I think the script is so funny and just so fun, and it's not a project to be taken completely seriously. It's just Jaws is my favorite movie of all time, and I really want to make a project, that just crosses over with Jaws. But MK, as I said, you and I have a lot of stuff to discuss. Like, we have the Jurassic Spark spin-off and sequel. We have the Beast Wars Interstellar series. We have Rollout Dreadwind. There's just a lot of other stuff that's kind of up in the air that we could do.
So many projects,
yeah. No, we're set for a while, and I would like to say that in 2 years, this and this and this and this and this will be out while we're working on this and this. But things changed quite a lot, and I need to be like sat down sometimes and told like Sam, we don't have time. I was ready to script and film a Spider-Man Transformers crossover this month. I even thought about maybe shoehorning in filming it.
You almost wrote and tried to release Steel Jaws last year.
Yeah. I attempted to possibly do Steel Jaws this year, because the script is halfway done, and I already own all the figures for it. But by the time it would have been possible to film it, I would have been freezing and shivering in Lake Ontario, because I do want to actually get in the water to film this. But then also Carlos wants to do the second Hearts of Steel.
I don't mean to be that person, but you were doing this at the time you were still working on Hearts of Steel. So Carlos was like, no, we're getting Hearts of Steel out first.
That's the fun thing about collabing, is they don't let me work on other things. They'll keep me on track. Like, I can't realistically predict where TFI is going to be in 2 years. All I hope is that we're still creating. And I do believe that we will be, for sure.
Oh, we definitely. If we're not, then
something's wrong.
Well, I put Sam in a retirement home.
Fair. And then you have to take care of me and change my diapers. But
no, that's the point of a retirement home, is I don't have to do that.
But next year, what I will say is every single TFI project will have a brand new intro to help celebrate 10 years of TFI. And what?
You teased it on Twitter.com a few days ago.
Don't you mean X?
All right, well, this has been fun. This is the last episode of the TFI podcast. I quit.
I'm never calling it X.
I think here's the thing. I think you edit it out each time, but I feel like at least once a podcast, I have one joke where I go, "All right, this is it. This is my last
Yes.
episode."
Yes. The
All fun
one
and games.
the one last month was, all right, well, the podcast is on pause while I go to Sam's house and beat the shit out of him.
Yes. So like, it's all fun and games till like 2 years from now. I'm like, I get actually fed up, and I'm like, you know what? No, we're done.
Yeah.
I kid.
No, you really don't. But yeah, I do hope in 2 years that we're still creating, and that we get to create most of the films that we want to. But yeah, the every project next year will have that new TFI intro, because I've been wanting a bit of a change for a while. Like, I like the intro we've had for the past while. I think the Interstellar remake was one of the first ones to have it. Maybe something before that, but I like it, and I like the 6 notes that that play when the intro comes up. That's still going to be present in the new intro. It's just really extended, and the new intro is inspired by the original Interstellar season 4 intro titles. It was the same sort of template, but thankfully, my girlfriend is very good with graphic design. She actually went to school for it, and she's helped me come up with better logos and textures and fonts and typefaces. I know if she's listening to this right now, she is cringing at how horribly I am botching what each thing is called. But for the past few projects, she's helped out create these titles, the Rollout What Might Have Been title. She put that together. The Complete Saga, Seal Jaws, and Rise of the Beast, The Hunter. She made that. And the TFI 10th anniversary logo, she put that together. And so I just took her the thing that she made and just made it do that transformation technique. So, and I'm thinking after the 10 years is up and TFI reaches its 11th year, of keeping the new intro, but just taking out the 10th anniversary at the bottom.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I still miss the Optimus Prime. But I think it is time to rebrand a bit.
You'll still see the Optimus in the beginning because his eyes will light up first, but rather than it panning down to the Matrix and TFI being there, it's going to be that transformation title.
Do you even still have that Optimus figure?
I kind of do. It's the MP10V, as in Voyager. It was a knockoff, because I couldn't afford a real MP10 at the time, and it had interchangeable heads, so I put the more square-like head on it, and I used that one for the intro. But that broke because it was a KO. It didn't last too long. It broke on a bunch of hinges, so it can't transform anymore. I do still have it in storage because I have a connection to it, but it's not together. Now, there was one crossover people have asked us to do in the past, and I've always said no, because I was never into this topic ever. It didn't interest me at all. A lot of people have asked, would we ever do a Transformers Godzilla crossover? Guess what my ADHD has decided to focus on this month? And I mean really hyper-focused. I watched the 2014 Godzilla, and I've watched Kong Skull Island. Next up is King of the Monsters.
My favorite.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to watching that. I really enjoyed the 2014 Godzilla, and Kong Skull Island was a very stylized film, and that was a fun time. So when people say would I ever do a crossover, I'm no longer gonna say no, but I'm not gonna say yes at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's just the whole crossovers and films that we could be doing, and where do we see TFI in the next 2 years? It's a very up in the air thing. All I can confidently say is that we will still be making stuff. We just don't know exactly what.
Everything we've announced will get released eventually, and I mean everything. If Mexico City can get announced, taken off the internet, and then 4 years later show up, anything is possible.
It wasn't it? I remember the first trailer for Mexico City. I think that was released just after the OG Interstellar finished.
I'm pretty sure it was around the same time as I remember it was around the same time, I think, as Mad Megatron, and then also the YouTuber Stealthbot released a Mexico City trailer. I'm pretty sure they were similar. I think his came first, but if I remember, they were very close to each other.
Okay. Yeah. I remember I don't even have that trailer anymore, but I remember the Optimus I was going to use was the Ultimate Optimus from Dark of the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not like the look of that Optimus, but it was going to be that Optimus versus that tiny Age of Extinction
AoE lockdown.
Then we just decided to, not make it at the time because I was working closely with Zachary Fuller on that one. And then I do believe that was the first project we ever used a third-party figure. We used
Peru Kill.
Was that Unique Toys? I think it was Unique Toys. Yeah.
Yeah.
We used Peru Kill for that one, and that's what got me into third-party figures and saw how good they were. So yeah, Mexico City was just like confirmed then delayed, then confirmed then delayed, and rewrite after rewrite. And I like what we came up with. That film was made just before we got the new 4K camera. I would love to have seen what that would have looked like with the current camera.
So, speaking of cancel, I figured, I don't want to go fully into depth on this because I realized that would make a really fun concept for an actual episode. But, the different canceled / postponed TFI projects. The Interstellar Ironhide spinoff.
I made test shots of that, too.
I do. I remember you posted those.
Yeah, I was going to use the original, I think it was the Revenge of the Fallen.
It was the Hunt for the Decepticons, I think. The deluxe class.
Yeah, because it came with the turrets that he would deploy in the Revenge of the Fallen game, yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I vividly remember you posting that announcer, that test footage, because I remember you actually filmed the transformation sequence, and you had little puffs of smoke come out.
I did, yeah. Yeah, man, God.
Do you still have that footage?
I don't have anything pre-rollout. I didn't start archiving until the first rollout. And eventually, as time goes on, I do start deleting footage and archive stuff just to make space on projects that I know are done. And now anything OG Interstellar, I don't have any of the test shots or stuff like that. I still have the scripts from seasons 2 to 4, which are a fun read, to see. And fun fact for those who don't know this, but when we went to TFCon, we got to meet David Kay. And for those who are fans of the OG and the remake of Interstellar, David Kay voiced in that one as the 13th Prime, and also did the previously on Transformers Interstellar. He actually signed our copy of the series finale of the original Interstellar script. He signed right where it says David Kay, previously on Transformers Interstellar. So that was pretty cool.
I don't think I've talked to you. That's something we can talk about a bit in this episode. I don't think I talked to you about you talking about to David Kay about TFI.
Well, at TFCon, or when I first emailed him?
No, at TFCon.
It was interesting because I had the OG Interstellar booted up on my phone, ready to shove the phone in his face like an Uber Eats driver at a McDonald's. Hey, look, this is the order. No, this is what you did.
I love here you anticipate. Okay, he's not gonna remember this. Let me.
Yeah, and, I showed him, and he kind of did, and I was like, yeah, you voiced for me all these years ago, and I'd love for you to actually sign the script. You kind of made you made it all worth it. It was such a great memory. And he goes, wow, yeah, 9 years ago, yeah, long time ago. And I loved that moment because this is why I love TFCon over anything like Fan Expo, is you have time to talk to these actors. That's why David Kay's line was so long, not just because he's David Kay, but yes, that's a factor, but he gave people time to talk to him, which was great. And on a side note, you and I had a fun conversation with Frank Todaro.
We did.
That was a really fun combo.
Didn't he give you his business card?
He wanted to give me his info, but he couldn't find it. But he did give me the link to his website that I can contact him on there.
Oh.
Yeah.
So in like 4 years, when you remember, you're gonna finally be like, "Hey, remember me at that con like 5 years ago?"
Yeah. I just want to meet Gary Chalk now. But yeah, no, but meeting David Kay, knowing that one, he was the voice of so many characters from my childhood, but also he had voiced in our work. And that means I've met both the voice actors who have cameoed in our stuff. I met David Sobolov and David Kay.
Did you meet David Sobel after he cameoed?
Yes. Yep.
Oh,
Because
how did that go down?
I showed him the footage. It was neat because so I went with M chords. Speaking of which, Matt, you just missed your exit again. We got there and I was like, oh my god, it's David Sobolov. I want to go say hi and be like, hey, you voiced cameoed in Origins Unknown. Big thanks to Coolrite for that, by the way. He's the one that set that up. And I walked up to him, and it was during like sort of peak COVID time. It was 2021, I believe. So everyone's just still wearing masks and such. So at first it was kind of hard to recognize him, but the big words that said David Sobolov kind of gave it away that it was him. So I walk up to him, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's David Sobolov!" Like, I said to him, "I'm like, hi, you voice cameoed for us earlier this year. This was the footage." And he goes, "Oh wow, I actually didn't get a chance to see the final thing, but I really enjoyed the script. The subject matter in the script was really good." And it's so neat when like these actors actually acknowledge, like not just say, "Oh yeah, I did that for him." Like he acknowledged the subject matter and said, that it was a good thing.
I'm so annoyed because I feel like I'm pretty sure I went to a con with David Sobolov at one point, but every time I have in the past, I love David Sobolov, but he was never he's never been my favorite. His roles of his in Transformers media were never my favorite. Like Prime Shockwave is probably my least favorite version of Shockwave. Nothing gets his. I think he did an excellent job voicing the character. I'm not a fan of like that portrayal of Shockwave as much. Depth Charge is cool, but he's never been one of my favorite Beast Wars characters. So it was like I felt like I never had a reason to like, oh man, it's David Sobolov. But this is off Transformers. However, if you know me, you know my love for One Piece.
No.
And David Sobolov actually voices a really big character in One Piece. And now I'm like, next time I see him at a TF Con, I'm not even going for Transformers. I'm like, you were Kaido King of the Beasts in the English dub. You're awesome. Anyway.
I know. See, it's funny that there was when I first got David Kay for the OG Interstellar, I had a friend and she was really into, was it Inuyasha? Because David Kay voiced in that one. I think he was a character named Shishomaru. I think.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not that much of a weeb.
I don't know. But she was like, "Oh my god, you got him for that?" I'm thinking, like, I know these actors because of Transformers, but everyone else is like, I know him from this, and this, and I'm like, the only other character I know David Sobolov in outside of Transformers is in League of Legends.
I forgot you play League.
I used to. I haven't touched it in like 2 years.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, we're really, really getting close to actual Christmas Day itself. And, a part of me does wish that we did some sort of Christmas special this year, because it does kind of help me get into that spirit a lot more. But I do watch the Christmas specials we've done in the past, like How Megatron Stole Christmas, The Christmas Truce, and Driving Home for Christmas. And Driving Home for Christmas is my absolute favorite.
Driving Home for the Holidays.
Why do you keep calling it that?
Wait.
It's Driving Home for Christmas.
Oh, I thought it... Is it... Oh, okay, I'm so confused.
Because it's named after a song.
When you said Driving Home for Christmas, I went... Oh, hey, that sounds right. Wait, but the name I always think sounds right is the one that Sam always yells me is wrong. So I said Driving Home for the Holiday because that sounded wrong to me. I'm like, that doesn't sound like the name. So I guess I auto-corrected mentally. And then because I auto-corrected, hearing the right name, went, no. I always get it anyway.
Are you okay?
I've never been okay.
Fair. But yeah, Driving Home for Christmas was my favorite project that we've done. And fun fact, like, I want to make a trilogy out of these Christmas films. And I did say to Carlos, if we were to do a Christmas special this year, it would need to be canon to, Christmas Truce and Driving Home for Christmas. And
Oh, look at me. I'm a manual car. I'm so special.
I did get an idea a couple days ago, and I sent it to Carlos, and then he pitched an idea back, and that made me go, crap, we could have done one. It's been brought to my attention by my girlfriend that there is an aesthetic around Christmas time, and it's a little red truck hauling a Christmas tree. And I first discovered that because she sent me a TikTok. Either she sent it to me or I stumbled across it, but it's of this guy with this like southern accent, and he's like, look what I got. It's a little red truck hauling a Christmas tree. And all of his ornaments are just red trucks hauling Christmas trees. I see it everywhere. Now that's been brought to my attention, that's all I can find. So I had an idea that Combiner Wars Ironhide, because he looks like a regular truck, would be hauling a Christmas tree, getting from point A to point B. And I thought,
Combiner Wars Ironhide?
I do. Oh. And at first I thought, is this just driving home for Christmas, but like with Ironhide? And then Carlos showed, there's a character, I think his name is Salvage, and he's a movie one sort of auto trooper, I guess, and
he was an auto trooper from the video game, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, Sam, what a shame we could have used this. I'm like, that's even more perfect because there's room to put a tree in the back, so that could be a thing for next year. Literally next to me on my little tree, I have a Santa driving a little red truck hauling a Christmas tree.
As long as Dreadwind gets to return, because he can't. Besides one rollout Dreadwind film, he can't come back and roll out.
When it comes to, actors and such, there is somebody I would like to shout out on this episode, as we now, typically do. And for those here who know Aidan Farron-Hart, he has voiced Optimus for us many a times. He was also Shockwave in Jurassic Spark. Yeah, voiced Primal in Return to Earth. Very talented voice actor.
Ultra Magnus in the Christmas Truce.
Also Saber in Maverick. Just anything that involves a booming, epic voice, this man is used for. He, every now and then, releases little reviews of figures, and they're very well made, and it's interesting hearing Aidan's natural voice and accent. The man's got a very strong Scottish accent, and I do love that you can sometimes hear it in some characters that he voices, and sometimes he'll use his accent a little bit and it'll slip out, and I won't say redo it because I secretly like it, which is why we had him voice Earthspark Megatron in our Earthspark spin-off, because that Megatron kind of had a little bit of an accent, so it was very, very fitting. Well, you know what? I'm going to say my catchphrase. Per the usual, MK, thank you for getting this going. I think I'm past the point where I don't think I need to keep saying that. Because,
I think it's a funny outcome, though.
But the thing is, we've reached the point.
My ego.
We've reached that point now where you don't have to pressure me into going, Sam, podcast, let's go. We're pretty, on the ball now. But that's pretty much all. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys are looking forward to the comic dub. Again, this episode should be out by the time MK has posted that trailer. If that is the case, there will be a link to that below. So you click that link, you'll head over to MK's channel. I'm really hoping that helps, kind of grow your channel a lot more too. I'll make sure to I would like, with your permission, to either post the trailer on TFI or make a short video talking about it.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, cool, because that needs to be seen. And yeah, with that, we'll end it here, and we'll see you all in the very next year, 2024.
Bye.
Fare thee well.
I quit.
Why do you always do that, man?
Shut up. Shut up. I don't sound like that.